Hi. I'm gonna shoot a couple reviews tonight that I'm gonna take a break from all these, because I just take a break from doing reviews, I guess. It's been a couple days. The movie I'm reviewing tonight is from 1965, so it's a pretty old one. It's going to be Peter Cushing in The Skull. And now this is a triple feature. It comes with The Skull, The Man Who Could Cheat Death with Anton Diffring, who I liked when he was in Faceless, and then The Deadly Bees. Now, I think The Deadly Bees and The Skull were directed by the same person. I got my cat in here, so excuse the meowing you may be hearing. So, The Skull. In May of 2010, I made this really short video called The Skull, having absolutely no idea that this was a real movie. And then, as you saw in Jerry, I made that really crappy video, The Skull 2 Atonement. God, don't watch that, that was a bad video. But then, in May of 2010, I made a video called The Skull, unaware of this movie. So it opens up, these people digging up this grave, and then the skull apparently the body was evil, and the skull is like sold at this auction type thing to Peter Cushing. No, it was owned by Christopher Lee, but he gives it up, and it winds up at this auction, and Peter Cushing takes it. And so Peter Cushing, he's like a I don't know what you call him, like an occult. He has like all these bones and like all this witchcraft stuff. So he gets this skull from the body, and Christopher Lee's warning him. He's like, well, I had the skull in the bookcase, and when I woke up, the skull had been removed. And he's telling him that the skull was like moving and stuff, like flying and stuff on its own. Oh, the special. So, like this one night, Peter Cushing has this nightmare about the skull, that it's like floating after him. And then, you get scenes like it's nighttime, Peter Cushing is sleeping, and like downstairs you see the china cabinet that has the skull in it opening by itself, and the skull floating out of it by itself, landing itself on the table. It has like this telekinesis thing, like if you look the skull in the eyes, it starts like flashing. You see a close-up of the skull's eyes, and like it starts flashing, and the person becomes like mesmerized by it, and then the skull kills them somehow. And that's pretty much the whole plot. So Peter Cushing has possession of this evil skull. And the ending of this movie is kind of a lame ending. It pretty much ends with Peter Cushing's walking the hallway of his house. Then the skull is like glowing in the dark, floating on its own after Peter Cushing. And Peter Cushing dies, and the cop, there's this search at his house the next morning, and this cop sees the skull, and the skull starts flashing, then it ends. It's like, okay. Before any of this stuff with Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee, you get the scene where this guy's in this hot tub type thing with the skull in the room, and then, like, the guy apparently melts to death because the water got so hot and, like, all this steam was coming out. So that's pretty much the plot. It's Peter Cushing owning this demonic skull. I'm not really going to go into the plot too much about it, since I only watched it once, so. Now let me go on by saying the special effects of the skull it's pretty good for 1965, like, the nighttime scenes where the skull gets that eerie white glow to it, it's moving things around, like, floating on its own. Hang on a sec. Hang on. Now, as I said, in May of 2010, I made a short called The Skull. And January of this year, 2011, I made this video called... Hang on, my cat's in here. And in January of 2011, I made the Skull to Atonement. Now, this right here is the skull I put in those. I know it's like, it's this cheesy Halloween decoration thing, you know, it's got the switch on the bottom that makes it light up. You know, this is that skull. I'm pretty much in the movie, like, it like, hang on a sec, turn the light off in here. So pretty much at night, the skull starts glowing like this, and pretty much floats through the air on its own like this. You know, and it like, whenever you look it in the eyes like this, it starts like blinking and flashing. You know, like boom, 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 boom. And the person becomes like mesmerized by it, and it kills them somehow. I guess giving a heart attack because people seeing a skull moving on its own. Ugh. So yeah, but when I made that back in May, the skull, I had absolutely no clue that that was a real movie. Yeah, so here's a little prop. This is the skull I used. It's this really cheesy video I made. If you want to see it, be my guest. It's like the skull going up. I used a bunch of stop motion in it. Like when the skull's going up the stairs, it's like on one step, then the other like that. And then there's scenes where it's going up the stairs. It's pretty much just me laying on the stairs, you know, just going like this with it. You know, it's and then the Skull to Atonement, it's me holding it like this, which you see my finger in a lot of the shots too, so just here's a little insider. Here's the skull. So the movie, it's okay. I mean, for 1965, it's pretty good. Sorry this review has been really short. How long is this? It's only been 7 minutes so far. So it's got some, like the scene where the guy gets boiled in the hot tub and all the steam, that's pretty cool. Whenever the skull moves by itself at night, it's pretty creepy looking, you know. The skull they used in the movie is way more realistic looking than this thing. This is just a Halloween decoration I bought at, like, for Walgreens at $2. Bought at Walgreens for $2. So I'd get this. I'm pretty sure you could get it on its own little DVD, like separate from The Man Who Could Cheat Death and The Deadly Bees. They both are okay. So is the skull. I mean, it's only 83 minutes, not that long. So if you want to give it a go, I'd check out the skull. Christopher Lee's not really in it too much. So I would just recommend getting the skull, or if you want to get it in this triple feature, because you never saw these two, be my guess. The skull is from '65, The Man Who Could Cheat Death is from 1959, and The Deadly Bees is from 1967. So, here, yeah, skulls, you know, like, for people who get creeped out easily, it might creep you out. It's not that bad. It's like the skull glowing in the dark, you know, like, moving on its own like that. It's not that bad, but if you get scared real easily, then you'll probably be a little freaked. But not that bad. So the skull, it's recommended. Sorry this is a short review. My next review is going to be on a movie I literally just got last week. It's directed by John Flynn. Brainscan. So stay tuned for my Brainscan review.